Hello and welcome to the next Torchwood reaction and review. We are continuing series 1 with the second episode now. But before we get into that, I have a very important question for you, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
What did one plate say to the other?
I don't know.
Dinner's on me.
Ah. Good one.
Yep.
It's good.
Now, something I forgot to mention last time when we did quick plugs was that on patreon.com/Genesis of Androzani, you can get access to our full-length reactions of Torchwood and Doctor Who as well. So if you want to check out the full-length reaction and watch the episode along with us, you can do that on Patreon. We also have Twitter, Discord, and what was the other one? I can't even remember what the other. Oh, Letterboxd. That's right. That's all in the description too. But those are the plugs. So
Nice.
now, last time we had Everything Changes, which is the first episode. So now we're going to go into day 1. So what are your thoughts and anticipations going into day 1?
What did I say last time? This is like orientation day for Gwen. So maybe some more of what Torchwood is for will be uncovered.
Yeah. All right.
What purpose are they? Why are they here?
Why are they here? What are they doing? Who are they? Blah, blah.
Exactly.
All right.
Who, when, why, and how.
Yes. Well, I suppose there's not much more we can say than that because we're only at the very beginning. So, shall we begin?
Yep. I am loaded up.
Oh, it's bowling.
I haven't gone bowling in years. Oh, strike.
Get on.
Why is the city so red?
I don't know. Wales?
True.
He's just such a good boyfriend, isn't he?
Still worried about Pig.
Dine and dash.
I've got to go to work.
Chris Chibnall. That's a new name. A lot of interesting things about Chris Chibnall, actually.
Okay. It's like Storm Chasers.
The amateurs got here first.
I'm with Torchwood.
Don't mess with me, little girl. You're not with Torchwood. But even if you were...
You go.
Put on all the right curves in all the right places.
Okay.
She is Torchwood, we both are, and we'd appreciate if you
Okay,
leave us
Captain.
to do the real work.
Okay. Interesting.
Is that you know that Justin Timberlake song?
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's a shame your tool's not big enough for the job, darling. Catch.
Shit.
Oh boy. Oh.
Great. What have you done now?
Oh. Oh no.
We've all had nights like that.
I'll be standing in there all on my own.
Yeah.
I'm sick of
Fort Lane. It's kind of a busted Fort Lane.
No one's going to understand that reference.
Oh man.
Mission?
Okay then. On you go. Watch and learn, boys.
Jesus. You get fired for that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bit more chaotic in Wales.
This guy looks like Jermaine Clement.
Yeah, he does, eh?
Like a real young Jermaine.
Jesus.
Oh damn. This is some 10 p.m. show type stuff.
This is in the Doctor Who universe?
Oh boy. Oh, what the hell are we watching? I was here for some family friendly fun. Okay.
This is the best.
Jesus. I get the feeling this guy's quite new. Oh.
Oh, let him out. Wait, it's the particles. It's the, what are they called?
Nah, it's not.
Spider Lady particles?
Nah, it's not.
Nutted so hard he turned to dust. Bust the best nut of his life.
It's the first and the last.
It's the way I want to go, losing my virginity.
Say hi to everyone for me.
Ooh.
Jesus.
With you all the way.
What the fuck? Oh, the sound, dude. Oh.
Wow.
My God, he just.
Came and went.
Sure
Jesus.
What are you talking about? We haven't got a clue. We don't even know her name.
Neither did he.
Died screwing an alien? We don't know for sure.
Same elements we recorded at the crash site. Traces all over the club, but strongest in this area. Something.
I like how this is just like normal for Jack.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh yeah, died screwing an alien. Oh, that's Millennium Stadium, I think.
Yeah. Holy shit, it's right next to a bunch of houses.
I can't really remember. A mullet I was.
Mullet.
Trajectory of the meteorite.
He means he's trying to find out where it's come from.
He's got a sonic
Sometimes
screwdriver.
A little technobabble is good for the soul.
So this is like a route plan.
Wait, he had a... What was the Sonic thing he had in the Doctor Dances? I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah, can I?
The one that opened the square in the wall and the floor.
Sonic square opener. Sonic can opener.
I torture people in happy relationships.
Yes, we realise.
I've tried magnifying and augmenting, but it just breaks up.
Damn, low res footage.
Let's narrow the numbers down. I could check through the rest. You know, the old-fashioned way. With my eyes.
Oh no, she's got space baby.
She's got a problem. This is rape.
Oh boy.
What's going on? Put your trousers on and get out. No! It always breaks my heart to say those words.
Oh, the Sonic seashell. Ooh, naughty boy.
Usually better if you don't say that in front of the prisoner.
Oh, least they can do is fucking wipe the cells. How grubby that shit is.
Who said anything about enslaving? Well, that's what you lot do. Aliens. Isn't it? No. The climax.
Oh,
I live off that energy.
they're farming orgasms.
Right, sorry, just here to feed off orgasmic energy. There's nothing else out there like it.
Oh man. Oh god.
Jesus Christ. You've got a partner.
Wait, why's she into it?
Wow.
You should really get her out of there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, come on.
Jesus. A bunch of teenagers running all this like, dangerous stuff, you know?
Oh, here we go again.
Not really sure when I'll be finished though.
Is it exciting though? Have you had loads of excitement?
Some.
Don't forget about the Weevil.
Old mate's still there.
So, who's for Chinese?
What the fuck is happening?
No, it really was.
It's chaos. It's absolute chaos.
I don't know what's going on. The direction of this is so weird.
I know, right? It's weird.
Gotta pee.
I don't get this. Yeah, it's the little girl that you just took prisoner about an hour ago. I forgot about her already.
What are we doing having Chinese while a girl fights for her life?
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah. Oh, we better look at some memes.
Actual police work.
No. Still want to put her father in the cell?
God, no, we can't let any man near. Oh,
Jesus.
Cheeky bitch took my swipe card.
I'll deal with it. And tell Owen he needs to work on those abs a bit harder.
Well, let's make it a fair fight.
Jack's gonna be a bit physical this time.
Put it down! That's worthless to anyone but me!
Put down the hand.
Or I'm
Is that Jack's actual hand?
What, do you think he has a third hand?
No, I've got theories.
Do you?
Yeah. I'll wait to see if they get a... Ugh.
She's on the loose again.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Hand must be important then, if he was gonna let her out like that.
Yeah.
The lungs begin to shrink, making it impossible to breathe. The pressure increases on all the internal organs until... Ratja.
Oh.
That's what...
We have to think like them. But as
How'd they get the rights for that song?
No idea.
Do you love me, Eddie? Did you ever love me?
No.
Oof.
Eddie's gonna die.
we're too
Oh, there he is.
Work your way through my back catalog. We'll be here till the sun explodes.
So where's she gonna go next?
We've seen the sun explode in this universe.
Wait, what?
We saw the sun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, it expanded. Jeez, would she become like superhuman from that?
The energy, it's not lasting. Sorry?
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh boy.
Asking for you to get out.
Just relax, I can help.
I don't think so, love. I'm gay.
Jack.
I've got a surplus of alive. I'm giving it away. You really want to feel something?
Captain Jack.
Mm.
Yeah, that is Jack's hand. He's not human. I know it.
That was just a kiss. Imagine the buzz you get from the rest.
I'm stronger than she is. I'll last longer. You might be able to save me.
Ah. Clever.
Clever boy.
Travel halfway across the universe for the greatest sex. You still end up dying alone.
Oof. What the fuck? What are you doing, Gwen?
She's been like just infected.
All over the shop.
Whatever's going on here.
Yeah. It's so overdone.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I wanted to finish off.
Fuck.
Am I boring you?
The most loaded question you can ever ask.
He's just a nice guy.
Gwen's just really getting around town. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So Jay, your initial thoughts on day one?
Look, it was fun. It was a fun episode, but I would say it wasn't great, but it was still fun. But like in terms of like just storytelling and like the flow of the episode, oh my god, it was all over the place. It was like I don't know. Like I still enjoyed it, but it was just very weird at points. And you know that whole portion with her in the cell, and then they have Chinese and everything. That was such a weird lull.
There was a lot of tonal whiplash.
Just like everything just finished. Like it's like the whole like progression of the plot and story and everything was just like, yeah, we'll hang out for a second. We'll just chill here. We'll just give it 5 minutes. The
pacing
and then we'll get back to it.
The pacing was pretty terrible.
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
God, this is such a weird one for me to like. I can't really summarize it in a singular way because I've got like I have so many like conflicting thoughts on this one.
Yeah.
It's kind of shit, but it's also kind of enjoyable. And
that's exactly how I feel.
And there's like small nuggets of really good stuff in this one.
Yeah.
Like there's
100%.
There's some really, really awesome like individual little moments in it, but then the whole structure of it is just so weird. And also I think it's constantly having to jump between like serious and not serious all the time.
That's what I was gonna say. Like it's trying to be funny, but then also having these very serious moments as well, which just does not work by any stretch of the imagination.
The thing is, right, is that I think probably my favorite thing about this episode and its purpose for like the characters is how it kind of exposes that this team that is handling this very dangerous job, like they are dealing with alien technology that used in any other hands would be like really dangerous, right? And it kind of exposes that they're all a bit immature.
Yeah.
You know, and I think what's great about that is it kind of adds this sort of danger to these people. They're not just it's not just a generic like talented police force or something like that, or a special ops. They are actually, you know, they're all a bunch of people that are really interested in this stuff, and they have knowledge. Like we saw in this episode with Owen, like he has a lot of knowledge of how like biology works. He talked about the rat and stuff. But then at the same time, they're all very immature. They don't have, because of apart from Gwen, they don't really have lives outside of Torchwood. They sort of feel a bit unfulfilled, and they're all like, in terms of like their personal life, they're really like immature and quite young, and a bit unsure. And I think that actually is it's a really cool idea. And there's parts of this episode where I think it's executed great, but then there's other parts where I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. There was just so much like I mean like I just felt like it was like, okay, choose the tone that you're gonna take. Like, are we gonna be like immature funny? Are we gonna be like sly witty funny? Or are we gonna be like kind of serious?
Yeah, and also I feel like
it did all three.
Yeah, and I feel like there's such a mix because like this episode has some great like meme moments in it. Like a lot of the more like overly sexual stuff, especially in the start, was really funny. Like the fucking security guard.
Yeah.
Who was like had a flashback to he was like
oh god.
He was like getting off to the sex gas, and then he was like,
just super fucking slapstick.
And it was like really, really facetious, but it was quite hilarious. But then it reached a point later on, around about the time that they were eating Chinese, that it just got a bit stupid.
A bit ridiculous.
Like when like the Owen scene where he got locked inside the cell naked was in itself like an individual moment, like a funny scene, but in terms of where it was in the story was such a weird place to put it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think just the script itself is a mess. Like it's not. I think it's not written well.
It was just kind of. It had poor flow, and I think. Honestly, what I would think is because it's one of those like, you know, like the more adult tone topics. I reckon it would have gone to BBC and they would have been like, take this out, take this out, take this out, and then they would have had to replace that with something in the script.
Well, I'm not sure about that because this was quite adult, and it technically, you know, this is a BBC Three show that was aired very late in the night.
I mean, they easily could have gone even worse on this. I don't know. I just feel like partly what might have happened was a lot of script editing, that just turned into just this mess of a script because there wasn't that one central idea anymore. It was just like they try to stitch something together.
And also, there's one other big criticism I have of the script, and it's not necessarily to do with the episode itself. It's more to do with the writer, Chris Chibnall. Is that I feel like he's not very good with dialogue.
No, dialogue sucked.
Some
of it was great.
Yeah. Some of it was great.
Yeah.
And again, like I am aware that Russell T Davies did do an edit of every script on Torchwood, so there is some of it that is from the showrunner, even though he's not really heavily involved in this because he's mainly focused on Doctor Who. But for a lot of it, I feel like Chris Chibnall's dialogue isn't very believable.
It's very weak.
It's not very believable. It's quite wooden.
He was good at telling jokes. He was good at especially like I'm just trying to finish off, and then other things they were like all those just dumb innuendos that I can just imagine him giggling at himself.
Yeah, but it's the stuff like it's like when Jack's like, "Oh, are you always awkward?" It's very weird how it's executed. It doesn't feel right. Like you can see that Chibnall's trying to get a joke in there, but it doesn't quite land, and
Chibnall didn't direct it, eh?
Well, he didn't direct it. He wrote it. He wrote the script.
I feel like maybe there might have been a disconnect in between the script and the director, and what was and how that line was meant to be played out or something.
And it's also jarring because when you compare this to the first episode, like the first episode was really smooth,
nice and clean.
It was so tightly written, and it is.
But now this is all over the place.
This one's all over the place, and I think it goes to show the difference between Russell T Davies and Chris Chibnall, especially at this time.
Yeah, I agree.
A bit of trivia about Chris Chibnall. Chris Chibnall, when Russell T Davies did this, right, he did the Doctor Who thing, and he also had the spin-offs. Because of him and his schedule and having to focus mainly on the primary show, he kind of had Chris Chibnall come in as a bit of a contractor to fill in the job, if that makes sense, because obviously Russell can't do everything. So, and at this point in time, Chibnall was not necessarily inexperienced because he had showrun before. I think he did a show called Born and Bred, which was it was a show like on BBC back in the day, but and especially in terms of like this genre, he was quite inexperienced. But Chris Chibnall is known as a fan of the show, of Doctor Who itself. There was even a thing in the 80s where he appeared on a fan show and on TV about it. But the funny thing is about Chris Chibnall is he's got a very fascinating career because he did Broadchurch.
Oh, okay.
And he's the current showrunner of Doctor Who.
Isn't the actress for Gwen Cooper in Broadchurch?
Probably, yeah. Eve Miles, I think she is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's the current showrunner of Doctor Who. Like ever since Jodie Whittaker came on, he's been the showrunner. So he's had a fascinating career. But obviously, this was like 14 years ago when this came out.
Yeah.
This is a long time ago, and
yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how you react to Chibnall and all the stuff he has in the Doctor Who universe, like with this show Torchwood and also Doctor Who as well, because it's again like he's just there's so many things about the way he writes that I'm like I kind of scratch my head a bit.
Yeah,
like it's odd. I don't really know how. I can't quite put my finger on it, but for some reason, the way he writes dialogue doesn't feel like real people.
Right.
But then on the other side of that, there's moments where I'm like, oh, that's good, and then that's good, and I'm like, I get a funny feeling that this may have been a Russell T Davies idea that Chris Chibnall had to execute, and that may be why there's a clash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine that. Yeah. Like, the idea wasn't bad. It's a pretty funny idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, not really funny, but kind of... It's grotesque, which is cool.
Yeah. Because there's one element of the sex gas alien that I actually really liked that wasn't fully executed to the way I would want, and that's the whole thing of how she has to do it because if she doesn't, she dies.
Yeah.
That's actually a really cool idea, but then that's...
Yeah, I wish the whole ticking time bomb thing was sort of a little bit more
and it kind
serious.
And what I like about it is it kind of adds a sympathetic layer to the character in the sense of like it's just doing this for survival, which is like what anyone else would do, but in doing that it's murdering people. And like it's a really interesting like sort of complex idea. but then it's mixed in with just this really weird comedic tone, and then also this really fucking all over the place script, and it just doesn't.
The thing that I found weird was like, it said to Gwen, it's like, oh, you broke my ship, but then it's also there for the purpose of being there. So why does it matter? I don't know. It was just kind of. That was kind of like an odd line to put in there.
Yeah.
It was just sort of didn't really make
Yeah.
much sense to what happened, what was happening later on, and the actual purpose of the alien being there. Yeah.
There's also a bit of an ironic line in this one from Owen in the sense that when she went to the sperm bank, the whole idea of like, oh, it's you get the full hit without the build-up. The funny thing is, the script of this episode actually does that a lot, where there's a lot of scenes that happen without a natural build to it.
Yeah.
Which I found really weird just to think about when Owen said that line. I'm like, this episode is a bit like that, where it's very... And I don't know if that I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
I don't like if it was, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Like if the idea was to have that same kind of thing where it's just like, oh, you know, all these things are happening without there being a build up to it, then don't do that again, because it's not as satisfying as there being a build up.
Well, yeah, I mean,
which kind of is true in real life as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's there's a lot of moments, especially in the second half, where we sort of we were like, this doesn't feel earned. Like the biggest example being when she reunited with
it
her
felt like
father.
unexplained. That was the main thing. It's like things are happening, and they're all just kind of happening. But there was no really motivation for any of this to happen.
Well,
it's like but then like the motivation for it was explained after, like with Gwen in the cell. That was all happening, and then she just kept going. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And then afterwards, that's explained. But I understand why they did that, because it's like they're not I don't know.
Well, the scene where the character who I can't remember her name, but she reunites with her father. The problem with that is that, like,
Carrie, isn't it?
Carrie, probably Carrie's or something like that.
Yeah.
When that scene happened, it was played as a very emotional moment.
Oh, it was awful.
But it didn't feel earned. It felt weird, because it's like, I don't really know these characters. So
yeah, I didn't really give a shit about Karis. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't.
Yeah.
And I didn't give a shit about her father.
Yeah.
Because her father was literally like, "Oh, you want some fucking toast, or you got a fucking bad hangover? Right, I'm gonna work."
The characters in this story, the like side cast that weren't the Torchwood members, were all very one note.
Yeah.
They
were just side casts.
They had no deep personality or anything. They were all just caricatures, you know.
The fucking ex-boyfriend, yeah.
When
absolutely nothing. I guess we were supposed to maybe feel something because her ex-boyfriend didn't love her, but it was just played out so terribly that it was just like, I still don't give a shit.
I know.
Yeah.
But then again, like, there's other stuff in this episode I really liked, like how her escaping the Torchwood hub was really well done. How they used the hand, because obviously Jack, we all we know about it is that Jack really cares about this hand, and like it makes sure it doesn't get broken or taken out of its filter. And so it was a believable reason for her to escape was by using that hand against her.
It also pulls some more attention towards, like, well, what is this? Who is Jack? Why the fuck does he care about a hand more than her? So that adds some more to the Torchwood mystery, which was pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of
you know the scene where they eat Chinese. I feel like that should have happened, like either not in this episode or just at the very beginning of the episode.
At the very beginning, yeah.
Not in the middle of the action.
Not having this weird, like, really sweet dinner scene. But then again, because if they're all together eating Chinese and then this fucking meteorite comes over and they all stand outside and they look at the meteorite, that would make sense for them to all go there. But I don't know. I feel the same way. Like, it was just like all the mayhem of her just hooking up with her in the cell and the weevil thingy, and then all the other things being talked about, and then the fucking receptionist comes in and he's just like, Chinese? And then everything just stops.
Yeah, I know.
And it's just they're eating Chinese.
I know. It was chaos.
Weird.
And in a kind of a weird way, I kind of enjoy how chaotic it is.
Yeah.
But it's bizarre. It's really
bizarre.
weird.
It's chaotic.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I did like it.
Yeah.
I just
Like,
I don't know.
The way I would describe this episode is it's kind of like sensationally bad, which in a way is kind of the whole point of the sex gas. So it's like,
yeah.
was it meant to be like this? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be so
Yeah.
intentionally just like it was very crude. Like it was like so I don't know.
Like in a weird way, I'm kind of happy that this exists because it's such a weird thing that happened.
Yeah.
You know, like I would say that I'd be a lot more upset if I came away from the episode not being able to say anything and being a bit bored by it. But this was insane.
I think that it's definitely like there's definitely some scenes in there that are god awful. Like the boyfriend scene, the father scene at the end. Trying to think of some other ones.
How did you feel about the scene where Gwen was choking Owen and then Jack comes in and says, "That's
that was
my
so
job."
weird.
Yeah.
That was so awkward. That was like
I felt like even though I liked the performance, I feel like Gwen was a bit out of character in this episode at some points. But then there were other times where it was really good, like when she when Karis was locked up in the cell and she was like trying to talk to her and she's like, "I don't really understand what aliens are, so I'm going to pretend like I know." That was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you had Owen, Tosh, and Jack looking over the security footage of them getting it on, and they're like, "This is exciting."
And they're all like, "Okay, we should go help."
Yeah, and again, like I like the element of them being immature and not taking responsibility because it kind of exposes something about them and how dangerous it is that they have control of this stuff. But then again, it's like, what, what is happening? You know?
Yeah, I definitely would say Gwen was like. Was great in some parts because she was that naive newcomer that you kind of expected it to being a cold first day and this being her first day at Torchwood. But then there were just a couple of moments where it was very, very odd.
Yeah, this episode as a whole to me was wildly inconsistent.
Also her kissing Jack at the end, I don't get that.
Yeah, it was very out of left field, wasn't it? I think the whole idea was that it was meant to be sort of partially influenced by the fact that she'd been like sort of touched by the sex alien. But then again, it's also meant to sort of be driven by something else too, like some kind of attraction to Jack. But it all felt a bit rushed, and like I was when it happened, I was like, oh geez, I completely forgot about that moment, honestly, because I've seen this before like 3 times. And I completely forgot about that moment. I was like, oh, wow, that's weird.
I mean, I saw it coming, so it was just like... It was like... I don't know. There's just a lot of unexplained... Well, not really. A lot of it got explained at the end.
I feel like... Honestly, I feel like that moment could have been way better if it wasn't a kiss, if it was just like a bit of tension and then she walked away. Like... Because
then you've got that real awkward scene at the end where they fucking are looking at each other while... Karis and her dad are hugging.
Yeah, I also think another problem is that she did it in front of the other Torchwood members. If they were just by themselves, it would have made more sense.
Like at the end where she's packing up at work or something. Like that might have made more sense there. I don't know.
Yeah, everything was just too sudden. It didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't paced well.
It was just weird because it was like that was like the closing moment between them, but then you have 2 other moments as well.
Yeah.
Whereas it was like, boop, and then. Oh wait, there's still another stare that they're gonna have, and then oh wait, another scene, and they're gonna have another stare off for a little bit, and then she's back home.
Yeah.
And ignoring her boyfriend.
Yeah, and there were multiple times when like, because like sometimes when I'm watching, I'm like, I wonder, I'm not really, because when I get lost in a story, I kind of like, I keep forgetting like what duration point we're at, and with this one. In my head, I would guess what number it was going to be, and then I would see what it was, and it was never right. I was never right about how far we were into the episode.
We were at like 40 minutes, and then I think this was like when she was in the donor place. I'm like, we got to be near the end. Like, but what the fuck is happening? Like, barely anything's been explained. And I checked the time, it was 40 minutes. So I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be wrapped up weirdly.
Sometime a little bit after the Chinese scene, it started to feel like it was starting to become the climax. I'm like, no, we still got like 20 minutes left. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It was
definitely
very
a weird episode.
It was very unnaturally paced.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not sure if I actually dislike it or not. I don't know. Oh, God.
I guess we kind of generally covered everything just then.
Yeah.
And
Again,
and our things.
there was some other stuff about like how none of them have partners except for Gwen.
Yeah.
There was also some really weird stuff like a lot of the.
Which I guess plays into the immaturity of them as well.
Yeah, one of my favorite jokes from the whole episode was when they used the technology to narrow her down to 119 people, but they couldn't get directly because it was low res. And then Yanto comes in and just says, "I'll do it the old-fashioned way with my eyes."
With my eyes.
With my eyes.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
I love the Welsh accent. It's just so adorable.
I think if they keep using what's his name?
Yanto.
Yanto.
Yeah.
If they keep using Yanto as a punchline, I think that would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Because he's like, what does he say to Jack when they're in the reception? He's like, do you want to do some fighting? Or something like that.
Oh fuck! There was that whole like fight between Jack and Carries. That was weird.
Yeah, that was weird. The whole he gets the wood sword stuck in the fucking cement wall, and it's just like, aha! You've got me once again. My wooden sword is stuck.
Yeah, and like it was the way that the fight was directed. It felt like children. It felt like children fighting in a house. You know, it's like I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
It felt like when you're fighting with lightsabers, but you're like intentionally trying to hit the other lightsaber instead of trying to hit them.
Yeah. Man,
That was
it was so weird.
And then I nearly cracked up at the shot of her running down the hallway, like holding the jar, and then Captain Jack running behind her with a pistol. Just so fucking bizarre.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. So yeah, I think we've sort of spieled over the mess it is in a very uncoordinated way, which is kind of fitting.
Yeah.
It's kind of fitting that this is the first time.
Kind of fitting, yeah.
It's kind of fitting. This is the first time we try an unstructured review because it works well for this episode. But like again, like every character I had such mixed feelings on because like, again, like with Owen, like there was a lot of really, really vulgar, like crude sexual stuff with him. But then again, like when you get to the actual him break
lab rat scene,
the lab rat scene, that was brilliant.
Yeah,
I loved that. That was amazing.
I like how it was projected on the wall as well. That was really cool.
Oh yeah, it was so interesting.
Yeah,
but
there's the Tosh.
Tosh,
Yeah. She was like, I don't know. I feel like her character's gonna get real two-dimensional soon if they don't, I don't know, focus on her a little bit or.
Well, I mean, most of the stuff that she's been doing so far has mainly been to like very focused around the exposition. You know the sciencey stuff. We don't really know much about her personality yet, aside from the fact that we know she likes to read up on ancient books and stuff because she was doing that in the first episode. She's a bit of a geek, you know.
Bit of a geek.
Which I think is meant to sort of contrast to someone like Owen, who's a bit of a smug brat, you know. Yeah. Bit of a jock. So but we don't know much about her personality. I would say she's probably the least chaotic character in this whole episode.
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah, and Reese is just a nice guy once again, and he kind of got cheated on.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Well, unintentionally. I will give it to Gwen. It was unintentional. Ish. Well, no, it was unintentional.
It was a conscious decision, but it was fueled by the alien.
Yeah. She was overcome by emotions.
It's kind of it's the whole thing of like your thoughts and your actions aren't the same, and there's things that she would have been thinking about, like with Jack or with, you know, Owen or with the alien, right? Like because sexual thoughts and all that. But then, in any normal scenario, she probably wouldn't act on it because it's not right or it's just not appropriate or because obviously she has a partner. But then obviously the gas probably had an effect on her to where her thoughts became her actions, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There might be a bit of heartbreak down the line, I guess.
It'll be sad to see because Reese is such a lovely bloke, isn't he?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Shall we move on from the characters?
Yep.
Yeah. So the response to this episode is very controversial and divisive. It's quite a panned one. Like when people talk about like bad torture episodes, this tends to come up first. Okay. Because they're like, oh, the one with the sex gas alien. You know.
Yeah.
And then it was funny when Chris Chibnall was announced to be the new showrunner. People were like, oh, the guy who wrote the sex gas episode from Torchwood.
Oh no.
Yeah. But yeah, it was very similar to something like Love and Monsters. It could...
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Jeez, a mirror just fell off the wall.
What's that? 7 years bad luck?
Yeah, shit. We just bought that as well.
That's the it's the ghost of your cat.
Oh dear. Well,
where were we at? We were at
oh yeah, so.
Response.
Yeah. So it was very mixed in like sort of like episodes like Love and Monsters and all that. It was kind of similar to that, and still is.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna just read a few like of what those reviews are, so we can specifically
that'd be interesting.
Nail down.
Yeah.
So one of them from Den of Geeks said, after an excellent pilot episode, day one is both a step forward and a step backward. As silly as the idea of a nymphomaniac extraterrestrial gas is, the cast throw themselves into it with aplomb, quipping with their way to a relatively gripping conclusion. Then another person said, he felt the second episode equates to the word adult with sex and swearing more of a playground definition rather than a serious drama. It's kind of true.
Kind of true. Not a bad thing, but kind of true.
And then another person said the episode was certainly nothing to get excited about, but I think it won't be too indicative of later episodes as we are still getting to know these characters, and that has to take the fare in the first few episodes. However, Chibnall, painfully simplistic, heavy-handed, and often cliched interpretation of sci-fi, especially with some of the technobabble, could prove to be a worrying factor later on. It was very, like, simplistic and heavy-handed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, there was no subtlety at all in this episode.
The sci-fi element was very just like bare bones. It was like I don't know. It was weird. It was like a people drama, like a soap opera drama mixed with some sci-fi elements. You know?
There was another person who said from TV Fodder who said it was a great second episode and added that this doesn't seem to be anything I don't like about this show. Well, there you go.
Okay. Someone's into it.
Yeah.
I think the first review was probably one that I agree with the most. Like it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It was chaotic. We'll call it chaotic.
Yes. All right. So, funnily enough, we actually have a clip to watch this time.
Okay.
This time, we are going to be watching the clip that I was talking about before with Chris Chibnall on
the fan show.
Yep. So for anyone who doesn't know, we're going to be watching the time that Chris Chibnall was on TV in 1986 talking about the show when it was in quite an interesting spot. People would say that like the show was very divisive at that point and was sort of like there was a lot of things going on at the time. But Chris Chibnall was on this as a teenager, and it's interesting to see him talk about Doctor Who as a kid.
So let's find out.
Oh God,
real
what are we?
diehard
Fucking
fans
188p.
think of the news.
It's always had a very family type of audience appeal to it. So it
Funny
can go
says
right
that.
across the board and appeal to younger people as they grow.
This is probably the least sounding 80s person that I've ever
really
seen.
hard the other day, and I watched
Because like you listen to the way she talks.
Doctor Who Appreciation Society. How long have you been
Chibnall's the one with
around?
the yellow tie.
Well, since...
Yeah.
You could write for the Sunday Times, yes.
well, we...
Are you being honest, or do you just...
I'm being honest.
She's all right? Yeah. Do you like her?
Yes, she is
we
admittedly
go.
a very good actress. She just has to restrain herself a bit more. She seems very theatrical at the moment.
Well, but she doesn't...
Seem to have much to it. It hasn't improved that much since it went off the air. It could have been a lot better. It could have been slightly better written, especially the last story.
Why? The same problem that it was too complicated?
Well, not only that, but it was also very cliched. It was very routine, running up and down corridors and silly monsters.
Okay, Chris.
Is that your opinion, Ian, as well?
Well, it's rather complicated and we get lost
So it's
when we're watching.
Really? And you've been watching it for ages?
We don't know what's going on.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I thought it was me being extremely stupid, but so pretty
one we've had so far from fans who've contacted us or who've written, they've mostly sort of seemed to have been happier than perhaps the people in your studio.
But it has to be said, Jane, that these are some of the toughest, and they love the series. They really do, and yet they're not happy.
There's no answer to that.
Let's get them to get some answers out of you, better than I can. Have you any questions for the writers?
Yeah. Do you feel that
what is this?
We can't
this
follow.
Like...
Do you feel the general public would be able to follow?
Pip?
Yes, I do. I think there's always a danger.
They'd never do this now.
This sort of program being patronising or selling your audience short.
Imagine if they did this with Dave and Dan.
We do that. We assume that
oh my
if we
God,
had a nice, pacey and involved plot.
To keep concentrating, haven't you, Chris? What would you like to ask them?
Did you not feel that the story with the Vervoids was perhaps a little too routine Doctor Who? Very much what the audience is expecting. It's not really very challenging for them to watch.
What do you mean by routine Doctor Who?
Well, it was very... I mean, the story itself has been done in a different way in the past few years. Very much a whodunit on board a space liner. And a very traditional sort of thing that people will expect Doctor Who to fall into.
But I thought a lot of you Doctor Who fans like to have traditional stories.
It would be nice to have something totally different from the norm, though, just for a change. I mean, the last episode was admittedly much better than the previous 4. But I still felt that story was fairly boring.
It's so weird that this is
You're
on
getting
TV.
a real hard time, Pip and Jen. I'm normally here to stick up for the viewers, but I feel a bit sorry for you here. What would you like to say to them in your defence?
Oh, well, I'm glad not all the fans live in Liverpool, I think.
Can I ask, have you always been by this reaction from the Liverpool Doctor Who Appreciation Society? It's disappreciation, isn't it?
Yes, it is a little over the top, I think. I don't think we intend to make things over-complex, but at the same time, I do think we attempt to challenge our audience and hence make the
They made a reality show out of
rather
Doctor Who reviews.
Are you going to bring the series back?
But we'll certainly take on board the points.
That's absolutely marvellous. You can't say fairer than that, can you? Are you happy?
Yes. Yeah.
But you've not completely lost hope, have you?
Oh no, the majority of the views were that people did enjoy it, and they were very happy with it. But again, there were a lot of things that weren't resolved in the final episode.
Do you think you'll still be at it when you're 50?
If the show's still going, yes.
Do you not feel very silly? I mean, it is basically a kids' programme, isn't it? You're getting a bit long in the tooth for this sort of thing.
No. It's not a kids' programme at all.
This is what we try to sort of aim for telling people. That is why we would like the show to be made a lot more adult, because it has the capacity to be very adult, very entertaining, very dramatic.
Very adult. Chris Chibnall. All right, close that. So, very interesting. Very interesting to see Chris Chibnall in the 80s talking about the show that way.
Yeah, saying very cliche and routine where...
There's a lot.
I don't know, that whilst it was acted very well, that lab rat scene was pretty fucking routine under my eyes.
It's interesting. There's so much you can take from that, especially if they're like, if the show's still on, blah, blah, blah. It's funny because, 3 years after that, it would be cancelled and then it would return eventually. It's just crazy to watch that in hindsight with all the information we have now. And with Chris Chibnall being the current showrunner on this panel, it's insane.
Yeah, weird run of events.
It's an interesting nugget of trivia, and it's interesting to hear what Chris Chibnall as a teenager wanted from the show, and then to watch his episodes and think, is he fulfilling what he used to think, or has he changed? I don't know. It's really weird. It's really weird.
You gotta always remember there's restrictions from the broadcasting company and everything as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but then there's other parts of that I feel like there aren't. There's things that he does in his writing that I feel like we have no bearing on the restriction. It's just things that he does.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was very interesting. So, the direction, I would say, one of my biggest issues with this episode is that it was very all over the place. And sometimes my eyes kind of forgot where I was meant to be looking.
I think like shots weren't bad. Like the editing wasn't bad, and I just think some of the performances just didn't hit the mark, and I don't know if that's maybe the director not feeling the script the right way, or the script not matching the mood of the scene, or the way, or the actors just not hitting the mark. So I just think there was a lot of confusion probably.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think again a lot of that comes down to how just plain the dialogue is, and how it doesn't really have much substance to it. It's very, it's so just simple.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have that, you don't get that feeling like you did with the first episode, where you hear someone say something and you think something else. It makes sense, and you think something else as well, because that's what a lot of the dialogue did with the first episode, was that they would say something and then it would click something else in your mind about them. Whereas with this, it felt like the dialogue was trying to tell you what this character was thinking, you know?
Yeah. It's like...
It was too honest. It was way too honest.
There was dialogue with purpose in the first episode, and then this was just dialogue to fill. Sometimes.
I again, like I said, I feel like the biggest problem is the dialogue is far too honest. There's no lying or deception, or there's no subtext within the performance that's outside of the dialogue. It's just so. Again, it's like it's just telling you what is happening and how
there's
to
no
feel.
Subversion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. There was absolutely no subversion whatsoever in this plot.
Yeah.
We just kind of knew what was going on all the time.
Well, the only subversion we got was that moments that happened were completely out of left field.
Yeah.
Like the Chinese scene, or the Owen scene, or the just...
But it wasn't even subversion. That was just... It wasn't like we've been taken down a path. It was just like, okay, we're here now.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. Right, so the music...
Yep.
Do you want to talk about the music, or do you want to jump straight into the track?
Let's jump straight into the track.
All right, so for this one, they recycled all their stuff. For this, we're going to listen to the full version of the Torchwood theme.
So much ASMR. Right, your thoughts on that? It's kind of like a weird trip hop song, in a way. Yeah, it's cool. I do like it. I do think it fits the show. I wouldn't particularly listen to it in my own time. The whispering in my ears kind of freaks me out. I don't really like it that much. Yeah. But I think it's definitely got that like sci-fi feel, and it's got it's a bit grungier.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it fits. It's fitting for what you want.
100%.
The show.
It's fitting for the title sequence as well. It really fits that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And as people know, I've made my own version of it for this channel for these reviews, which painstakingly took me ages, like just Photoshop constantly. Every single frame I had to like use clone stamp, and oh man, it was torture. But I got through it, and it's great. Yeah, I think it's
Torchwood.
I think it's really cool. And yeah, it's kind of just what you would want from a theme of this show. That's kind of what I would have to say about it. And I know they played part of it throughout this episode. Yeah, for certain.
Well, I finally
scenes.
fixed my damn audio so I could hear the dialogue louder than the music, so I didn't really notice it too much.
Yeah.
Throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's good. I like on it. The music in this was kind of forgettable. I think if there was one thing that I remember music-wise, it was the song.
Oh yeah.
When Karis was with her father, like meeting up with her father, and I thought you were
going to talk about when
also
she's
the license song.
Yeah, when she's walking around town. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool hearing that in there. Because that did fit that scene, and it run at that whole like drunk cam reminded me of The Hangover. No, I was gonna say the song when she reunites with her father was just like even made that scene even more unbearable. I don't know, just the note was, or the tone and the notes of that was all wrong. Yeah, other than that, music was just background noise.
Russell T Davies states in the Torchwood Declassified, which is like the behind the scenes stuff, that this episode reflects how sexualized our community is, and considered the scene when Karis is in the city surrounded by images to be his favorite scene because it best defines it. I think he's right in the sense it does kind of reflect how, when I was watching the scene, I was thinking about like all this stuff is in public, like kids walking in the street can see this stuff, you know?
Yeah. But also the thing with like the bouncer as well.
Yeah.
And how sexualized he was as a character.
I think that element of it, with Russell saying that this episode really focusing in on how sexualized everything is in public, like it's true. That element of it is true.
I find it funny how people say we have a very sexually orientated society, but you look back into fucking Greek, Roman, even like English and like old most old societies are so focused on sex and stuff still. So
Egyptians too.
It's not a phenomenon for our current state. It's way more accessible.
Literally, the start of the Bible begins with Adam and Eve's nudity being exposed.
Yeah. I find that topic in film and media is so cringeworthy because it's like, it's one of those ones where it's like, well, I need to find something about society that I can comment on and make a judgment about. Oh, there's so much sex in the fucking media. It's like there always has been and there always will be. It's just we have figured out as people that like to sell things for money that sex sells a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, I think what the point that the Russell T was trying to make though was that it's marketed. If you get what I'm saying.
But it's always been marketed still as well.
Yeah, but the difference is like with something like Greek and Roman history, that's more like high culture art portrays it, whereas and obviously there's the history, the oldest job being, you know, the prostitute, right? But what I mean is that in the modern age with all like technology
it's so much more accessible.
It's very like the way it's presented now is a different form of that, if that makes sense. It's marketed and it's like everything has a price on it. And
I still appreciate it when people try to make a comment on it, but I just feel like it's just not even worth trying to like desexualize our society. It's sort of it's just how it's going to be.
So one other thing is that you said that you had a theory about the hand. So do you want to share it or no?
Well, I know Jack's not human because whatever happened to him after, was it Dr. Dancer's? No.
Well, Bad Wolf Parting the Ways was when he was resurrected.
Yeah, when he's resurrected, he's not human anymore, and that must be the last remnant of his old body that he has. That's my theory, at least.
So you reckon his hand was cut off?
Yeah, but no, just like the rest of his body's gone because it's been destroyed with everything else, but he still has his hand somehow.
Even though he never had it. I mean, we never saw his hand get cut off in that episode.
Yeah,
but maybe it did. Is that what you're saying? Maybe it got cut off and then it grew back like a starfish.
No, he's in a different body now. He's not human. That's the hand is the last part of his human body.
Really?
He's obviously not human because he doesn't die.
Yeah.
He glows when he kisses people.
Yeah. Oh, that was actually quite funny how the resolution of the plot revolved around Jack's sexual energy.
Yeah.
Very in character. Okay, well, interesting theory. We'll see if that develops into the truth or not.
Okay.
All right, so the viewership was 2.5 million, and it held the same from last week. So that shows that the first episode worked.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it held its viewers.
Yep.
Yeah. So well done for the first episode for that.
Pretty good.
All right, so give your conclusion and a rating out of 10 for day 1.
So I've been trying to figure out a number since we've been talking about this, because initially when we ended it, I was like, man, this sucked. I'm going to give this a low rating. But then I've kind of come to appreciate more parts of it, and being able to see the lightness and the funniness of it. But then there still are those scenes that are just fucking garbage. And I did enjoy it. Like, I didn't want to, like, close VLC and just be done with it. I still wanted to watch it to the end to see what happened, but I wasn't particularly invested in any way. So I think on that front, I'll probably give it a 5 out of 10. And I think that's pretty fair for it being, like, relatively enjoyable, but a bit all over the shop. Yeah.
I'm kind of the same. It's such a mixed bag, because there's stuff that's like terrible, and then there's stuff that's like ironically really funny and just enjoyable, and then there's stuff that's unironically actually quite good. And it's such a blend of the three, and oh man, it's such a weird one. This is one of the hardest ones to give a rating for, because my mind constantly is going back and forth depending on which part of it I'm thinking about first.
Yeah.
And like, when most people think about this episode, they tend to remember the bad stuff, like the sex gas stuff, and they don't like the vulgarness of it. But then I think about the other stuff that I actually liked about it. I'm like, oh, but there's actually some really good stuff in there as well, but it's kind of a mess. And on that front, like you, I'm also going to give this a 5, because I feel like it kind of, all the positives and negatives kind of balance out for me. And it hits that really weird mixed middle point.
Yeah.
But it's not.
That's why it's watchable, but it's not like, I don't know. Yeah.
It's got some great stuff. It's got some terrible stuff, and it's a bit of a mess, but it's kind of enjoyable. And it's like, oh man, I don't know. I don't know.
It's not a piece of fucking art. Let's be honest. It's.
Oh no, hell no.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing, and we watched it, and it was kind of fun, but I wouldn't care less if I never watched it again in my life.
Fair enough, yeah. But it's a very interesting piece of Doctor Who lore, in the fact that this actually exists. There's an episode of Torchwood about a sex gas alien. And the fact that I'm laughing at that kind of makes it a little bit endearing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and that's more than I can say for something like The Idiot's Lantern. So there you go.
True. That was garbage.
Yeah, I mean,
that one I wanted to just fucking close.
I mean,
and be done with
the Idiot's Lantern is meme worthy as well, but it's far more aggravating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I'll give it a 5. Just what the hell was this one? Just like, what?
Yeah.
I'm baffled, but thankfully we can move on from it.
Kind of brave to have that as your second.
Yeah,
episode
really
of a show
brave
as well.
Really brave.
So I mean, it's kind of commendable.
And a very weird debut for Chris Chibnall. Like, when you think about you think about like
the shit that he talked back in the day.
Yeah, like when you think about like debuts for like showrunners, right? You think about Russell T Davies, and you think about the episode Rose, and how just all the great things about it, you know, and how many things it set up, and how just beautifully paced it was, beautifully written, just everything about it was top.
You would have thought you might have put a little bit more care into what's going on.
Yeah, and like just it was great to see how just.
Maybe it was perfect to him though. Maybe that's his perfect script. Maybe.
I mean, it's certainly memorable.
Yeah.
It's certainly a memorable way to start.
It's not bad. It's not bad to be honest.
Yeah. He certainly made his mark. But wow, the guy who did Broadchurch wrote this. Bizarre, really bizarre. Anyway, I don't have much more to say about day 1 or anything like that. So that means next time on Torchwood will be episode 3, which is called Ghost Machine.
Okay.
So any thoughts
Ghost in the Machine.
Any thoughts you have going into Ghost Machine?
Well, something's getting haunted, and something's going to go wrong. Maybe the car will start driving itself. Who knows?
Yes.
We'll see.
Right, well, we'll see. So, we will see you all next time for Torchwood Series 1, Episode 3, Ghost Machine.
Thanks for watching.